What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. There's so much to get into this morning. Marcel Sabitzer is officially a Manchester United player after signing for the club late last night. A loan deal, straight loan until the end of the season. We've got some quotes from Sabitzer. We've got some quotes from John Murtough. We've got some quotes from Bayern Munich. We've also got some reaction internally from Manchester United from news that we've been hearing over the last few hours or so. We got to bring you that this morning. Plus, it's match day as well. Carabao Cup semi-final day. Carabao Cup semi-final second leg day at Old Trafford. So we're going to do a bit of both this morning. We're going to do this last sort of bit of transfer news, maybe the final transfer view for a while. You never know. It depends what transfer news does happen in between the winter transfer window closing and the summer transfer window opening up. But also we've got to do the preview as well this morning. So it's a bit of a hybrid show this morning. Bit of both. Bit of best of both worlds. Hannah Montana settings. I think that was the song. I may have really embarrassed myself at 9:02 in the morning that I've just admitted that I did know, and I do know, what the intro to the Hannah Montana theme song is. You get the best of both worlds. Yeah. I feel like my energy is now just drained out of me. Come on. I'm Hannah Montana. Imagine that. Imagine it was me and I took the blonde wig off. I'm Hannah Montana this whole time. Well, be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right hand corner. Remember, you can join the UV Members Club. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. There was so much content that went out yesterday as well. I mean, how many videos were there in the end? There was the morning show, press conference, KG's day at Carrington, the Here We Go video. There was 5 bits of content that went out yesterday. So if you haven't already, be sure to check those out as well. There's plenty going on in the world of UV. Plenty going on today as well. As I mentioned, it's a full match day experience. So road trip settings with a twist. Road trip settings. There's going to be match view settings. Myself and Mina are going to be on the match view this evening. Also, there's going to be fan views. All the reaction outside Old Trafford. So busy day, busy couple of days we've had here. But I love it and I hope you all enjoy it as well. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat as well before we get into the big news as well. And Blue Dabba Dee Dabba Die says Hannah Montana the GOAT. I wouldn't go that far. Just the thing is, when you start these shows, you never really. I certainly don't, because I prepare a little bit, but not as much as I should. I never know what's going to come out of my mouth at this point. A lot of funny says, Owen, what would you rate our transfer window, considering we usually never act on such situations? Well, look, I said this last night, and a lot of people said crackhead, but I'd give it a 7. I'd give it a 7. And I know you'd say, Owen, a 7? Come on. You know, what? Jack Butland, Wout Weghorst, and Marcel Sabitzer. The reason I would give it a 7 is because I expected nothing. And my expectations were so low that, and considering history, that in the past we wouldn't have got a striker. In the past we wouldn't have got a midfielder when Christian Eriksen went down. So I commend for United for doing the bare minimum, yes. But I'm happy with it. I'm coming out of the window somewhat happy or happier than I thought I was going to be. So. And I know, again, some people are lower. I mean, and Blue Dabba Dee Dabba Die says 5. Kristen, one of our members, says 4. Vincent says 4. Ed says Owen smoked some good hopium last night. I didn't get to bed till so late last night as well because I was waiting for this announcement to come out and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a busy few hours, but I love it. I absolutely love it. Right, let's get into the news, of course, because I've already been talking 4 minutes. I haven't even spoken about the big news itself. And that is that Marcel Sabitzer is a Red. Yes, Manchester United released the news, when was it? It was just after midnight last night, 12:10 over here in the UK, GMT, saying Manchester United is pleased to confirm that Marcel Sabitzer has joined the club on loan from Bayern Munich until June 2023. The Austrian midfielder has made 443 career club appearances across Europe, including 54 since joining FC Bayern Munich in August 2021. Previously, he was the club captain of RB Leipzig. He has 68 full international caps for the Austria national team. Sabitzer has some comments, some quotes after joining United. He said, quote, and I love this start. This starting one's great. Sometimes in life you have to make quick and important decisions. Good start. From the moment I heard about this opportunity, I knew it was right for me. I am a competitive player. I want to win and help the club achieve its aims this season. I like that quote. I enjoyed that one. Sometimes he's right. Sometimes in life you do have to make quick and important decisions. And the moment he heard the opportunity, he knew it was right for him. Because remember, it wasn't just United that were interested. Chelsea, like everyone, like it was a Steven Spielberg film involving sharks, Jaws, they were circling around. You could hear the music, Todd Bowley going, Bowley, 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 Bowley. That's what you could hear. With his file of facts going, we're going for a meal. That was the one in the summer, wasn't it? We're going for a meal. He was circling Marcel Sabitzer, but Sabitzer said no. I want to go to United. I want to go to Manchester. I want to work under Erik ten Hag. He continues saying, quote, I feel that I am at my peak as a player and that I can contribute a lot of experience and energy to the squad. I am excited to start with my new teammates and manager and to show my qualities to Manchester United fans. And John Murtough, Manchester United football director, also chimed in with... It's always funny when he chimes in. He went, quote, Marcel is a player that we have watched for a long time. The opportunity arose quickly and we knew that he was someone with the ability and character to make an impact. He adds further quality to our squad and experience to the dressing room. And all of us are pleased to be welcoming him to Manchester United. Got to get that bit in. Got to get that bit in about we knew about him the whole time. He's been on the short list for a long time. And look, when it comes to scouting departments and recruitment networks, Manchester United, I mean, we mock and we jest saying that Manchester United are monitoring FC, watching FC, you know, all that kind of stuff. But any club worth their salt is actively watching probably like 100 plus players at any one point in the season with their scouting networks and lists and getting regular reports through about certain people. So whether what Sabitzer was really actively being looked at prior to this, were they aware of him? I'm sure they were aware of him. But at the same time, you know, I don't care. we got the player. VK with the super chat. Good morning, VK. Says, window has been a 10 for Ten Hag. He finds a solution whilst others simply moan. True leader finds a way even when he had two hands and his neck on a noose. Wow, that got dark towards the end there, VK. Jeez. For this morning. Oh, jeez. Makish says we scouted him in 2021 before Bayern. I'm sure, and again, this is a good point that you make there, actually, Makish, that there are players that at certain points we were interested in, then it didn't work out, or they go to another club. I would assume that information stays as it is, like they're aware of the player because of that in the past. Whether it's completely up to date and all that kind of stuff is one thing. But again, I'm very happy with the signing, and I think that again, considering at one point yesterday I was saying that I don't think we'll get anyone, and I know I'm probably repeating myself from yesterday here, but in terms of last minute emergency loans, I'm not sure we could have done much better. I'm really not sure we could have, considering the market, considering who's available, considering the pedigree. You know, a player that it's not a case of, it hasn't worked out at Bayern Munich because he's bad. It hasn't worked out at Bayern Munich because they've just got a fantastic midfield. They've got a fantastic team. And, you know, he's been largely relegated to substitute appearances. I know in the world of Paul Merson, that means he's awful and he should never play football again. He can bet the amount of times I've seen that clip, by the way, this morning and last night. He can barely make it on the bench for Bayern Munich. What does that mean for Manchester United? Oh, shut up, Paul. Come on, you know it's all right. This is when, you know, where agenda and bias comes into it, because if it had been announced yesterday, Chelsea have signed Marcel Sabitzer, it'd be like, comes from Bayern Munich, a lot of pedigree. Yeah, hasn't really worked out, but he was captain at Leipzig. Really good player. Obviously, it takes to get a good move to go to Bayern Munich. I think it's a real bit of shrewd business from Arteta. You know, it'd be something like that. United, he's the worst player ever. Manchester United are in a crisis. They're terrible. They're awful. They should be relegated. I mean, he's a few steps away from Ty. You know, just going into the camera saying you're a disgrace, you're a cheat. It's not that far away. Paul Merson, come on. And I like Paul Merson as a person. I like Merson the person, but it's just nonsense comments. I do want to get some reaction from the club as well. So this kind of is some information that we've received and from news that we've been hearing over the last sort of, again, a few hours, really since the Sabitzer deal was actually announced. Now, Manchester United acted quickly to fill the midfield gap following the injuries to Christian Eriksen, Donny van de Beek and Scott McTominay. So obviously the catalyst to make this move happen was these injuries in the midfield. We're light. We were light when Donny got injured. We were incredibly light when Christian Eriksen got injured. McTominay, again, I think he's out for a couple of weeks, something like that. So we're very, very light. We needed a replacement. Sabitzer, again, according to information that we're hearing, is well known to the scouting department at Manchester United. He's known as a high-quality, versatile player. Most often he has been used in... Whilst he's a multifunctional player, I think most often he's been used in attacking midfielder positions or more progressive midfielder positions. Yes, he can play as a DM, but I see it more as a progressive six, as a deep line playmaker six. And again, he has been used as a utility player to kind of play in other positions in the past, but he's more best known as an attacking midfielder. As the club statement said previously, he's experienced in terms of at an international level, 68 caps for Austria. I think certainly what we're looking at, and Ten Hag had spoken about this a lot, and we spoke about it last night, DJ, Mina and myself, saying that it's about the profile of player, it's about the personality of the player, and you've got a guy that was the captain at RB Leipzig. That's a leadership figure. How often have we said this season about one of the big reasons for improvement at Manchester United is the amount of leaders in that side. You go from a side last season that there's no leadership on the pitch. They're all looking around, looking at each other, trying to pass the buck for their failures. And last season was a catastrophic failure on the pitch and off of it. But this season, what's the difference? You've got a team of leaders. You've got David De Gea in goal. He's got tenure. You've got Lisandro Martinez, aggressive, tenacious leader. You've got Rafael Varane, experience, been there, done it all, won it all, composure, leader. You've got Casemiro, again, been there, done it all, won it all, playing out of his skin, superb composure, but again, with a mixture of aggressiveness and tenacity, leader. Christian Eriksen in there, leader, experience. Marcus Rashford on the left-hand side, again, tenure, leader. Bruno Fernandes next to him, he's the captain. It's a team full of leaders and a team full of personality. And I think that's a key thing for our success this season is that you've got these professionals that, again, are leaders in so many different ways in terms of performance, in terms of personality, all that kind of stuff. And someone like Marcel Sabitzer does fit into that because he was captain at RB Leipzig. And that demonstrates leadership-esque qualities. So it's about the personality being right too, as Ten Hag has said over and over again. It's not about getting just any player, it's about getting the right player. And I think this is when I go back to, out of all the people we could have got for a deadline day emergency loan, I don't think it gets much better than that because looking at the people we were offered, Isco, was it Carrasco, which we didn't even really need, Carrasco, Auer as well. Are any of them the leadership level qualities that someone like Sabitzer is, and also the right profile of player we're looking for, the personality? It just ticks all of the boxes considering what we needed at the time. Now, if you're wondering about did the Christian Eriksen diagnosis, did that injury really speed things up? The answer would be yes. As the diagnosis became clear for Eriksen in the sort of... It was Saturday was the game. Sunday, I think they did the scans. Monday or so, they got the prognosis about it. As the diagnosis became clear in the sort of 24 hours prior to the Sabitzer move, reportedly United had identified Sabitzer as the best attacking midfielder available for this short-term loan until the end of the season. And that's what it's being described as, a short-term loan. There's no buy option. There's no obligation to buy. There's no option to buy either. As far as what could happen in the future, you never know, I suppose. If, as I spoke about previously, he's going to be involved in some really important games for Manchester United moving forward, right? Possibly Carabao Cup final. Who knows how far we'll go in the FA Cup? Who knows how far we'll go in the Europa League? We're fighting for top four. And with a player of his experience, with a player of his caliber, and given the injuries, he's going to be involved in some very big games for us this season. And if it goes well, then who knows what could happen in the future for him. But that would all have to be negotiated at a later date. Nothing's set in stone right now. Same way that about Weghorst, nothing is set in stone right now. But you never know. Now, as to how quickly this deal came together, Manchester United initiated contact with Bayern yesterday. So it's literally, that's how quickly it came together, which I think it's a positive and a negative, isn't it? It's a positive in the sense that this is proof. Manchester United, they can do deals quickly if they need to, right? They can do deals if they need to do them, and they can do them quickly when their back's up against the wall. In certain situations, they decide not to, but they initiated the contact with Bayern Munich yesterday, and as Sabitzer said in his quote there, the moment he found out that United were interested, he was immediately keen to come. He was excited by the opportunity. It was swift. It was a deal that was done reportedly within 12 hours. And again, it goes to show that when push comes to shove, Manchester United can do deals quickly. And it just begs the question as to why in other circumstances don't they? And I understand, look, every deal is different. There are extenuating circumstances. Sometimes when not just Manchester United, but there are other parties involved, when their backs aren't up against the wall, when other clubs know that they've got several weeks to get the deal done, or agents know they've got several weeks to get the deal done, sometimes people can drag their heels. Sometimes people can put stopgaps. Sometimes people can ask for more. Sometimes negotiations can take longer. When everyone involved knows we've got like 18 hours to get this deal done, it gets done fairly quickly because they want to ensure that everyone gets their money. They want to ensure everyone gets what they want. And most of the time that's involving getting paid. So the deal was done fairly quickly. In terms of an overall picture as to what Manchester United had hoped to do in the January transfer window, and I suppose this is kind of more of a reflection of the winter window here, is that reportedly United's main objective going into the January window was to get that striker for the remainder of the season, to fill that gap left by Cristiano Ronaldo, and obviously with the injuries of Anthony Martial. Obviously, that was achieved fairly early with the signing of Wout Weghorst, and as I've said before, I do think that, you know, and it's almost such a wild sentence, isn't it, to say that you brought in Wout Weghorst to replace Cristiano Ronaldo. I think it's more appropriate to say to fill the gap, or attempt to fill the gap that he left, or to get that striker in that we were light in. And I said, I think that's going to be a really underrated signing. I truly, genuinely do. From what I've seen in the last couple of games, I think that Wout Weghorst is going to be a real positive player for us between now and the end of the season. I think we're going to see more and more just how important he's going to become to the team. And again, he's not the perfect option for us. He's not the final solution. That final solution, or the final answer, is a Victor Osimhen, is a, possibly a Harry Kane, is a Gonzalo Ramos, whoever it may be at the end of the season in the summer. That's the final option. That's the final answer to that number 9 spot. But as of right now, again, for what was available in our budget in January, I'm happy with it. If it's a player that Erik ten Hag wanted, and he spoke about it in the press conference yesterday, answering KG's question, he's happy with his game so far. It's going to take a bit of time because he still is fairly new within the squad. But particularly in the games, and again, I understand that they're against lesser opposition, against Forest and against Reading, I'm happy with what I've been seeing. And I think that, again, his consistency of just being available is going to really help people like Anthony and, even Rashford, even though Rashford doesn't need the help at the moment. I think it's going to help them as well. Just having that person that you're training with throughout the week is going to be there on the Saturday or Sunday or Wednesday or Tuesday, in this case Manchester United, or Thursday, whenever Manchester United play, knowing that they're just going to be there the whole time. That is so important to developing patterns of play, developing styles of play, developing chemistry and cohesion on the pitch. And I think we'll start to see more of that. And also as well, these players do fit in a Ten Hag system. This isn't like before where, the people above, Ed Woodward and whoever, would just sign these players and then go to the coach, figure it out. Or they don't really fit. You can make it fit. You can figure it out. These are players that Ten Hag goes, yeah, I can see them. They fit in my system. Sabitzer, again, tenacious, a leader-like figure. Is it a direct replacement for Eriksen? No, because I don't think anyone can be, honestly. But he can fit in the Ten Hag system. Wout Weghorst, he fits in the Ten Hag system. Target man style of play. He likes to play with a big focal point up front. And he has that in Wout Weghorst. Can press from the front and press in the middle of the pitch. We've seen that. You see why he wins the ball back. His hold-up play is decent. His layoff play is decent. He brings defenders into him. Allows space for people like Anthony, people like Rashford, people like Bruno Fernandes. And I think that will only get better. So, again, in terms of a January window, The expectations were on the floor, and maybe that's why my sort of number that I've given it, or my rating that I've given it, is maybe a bit skewed. But I was honestly expecting nothing, and to get something out of it, to get two players, which are two first-team players. Weghorst is a starter; he's been starting every game. And whilst Martial, I think, is back this evening, I don't think he'll start. I would think he'd be on the bench. But even that's now a different conversation, isn't it, without Weghorst and Anthony Martial? Previously, prior to Weghorst and post-Ronaldo, the big conversation would be, okay, Martial's back up. What do we do tonight? Do we play him? Do we start him on the bench? And then, okay, but if he's not available for the whole game, what do we do? Does Rashford go through the middle? But Rashford's playing so well on the left-hand side. What do we do? Garnacho can then play there, but you don't want to give him too much too soon. Now it's just a bit more relaxed in that situation, isn't it? It's okay. Weghorst can start the game. Martial, you can come on 45 minutes. You can come on 30 minutes. You can come on 15 minutes. We can build you up. We've got more time to build you up. We don't have to rush you back. And then maybe, just maybe, you won't get injured every 5 seconds again. That's maybe the hope when it comes to Anthony Martial. But again, that burden, that pressure, and that question mark over that position is slightly lifted right now, which I think is a big positive for United, because let's face it, we've gone halfway through a season at United so far, but we have no idea who the number 9 is going to be going game to game. How crazy is that? Every single game, the conversation would be who starts up front. And a lot of the time it's, wow, it depends. It depends. It was, wow, it ideally would be Martial, but, he's injured. It's now February. He hasn't completed 90 minutes this season. Before that, it was, wow, it could be Ronaldo, but is he really good enough anymore? Or does he fit in the Ten Hag system? Does he want to be here? Can he do what Ten Hag wants him to do? What's his atmosphere? What's the the atmosphere he's bringing to the club? All that kind of stuff. Then there's Rashford. Well, he can play through the middle and he can do a job through the middle, but I would prefer him off the left-hand side. That was game to game to game to game to game to game to game. And now that's not necessarily the case as much, which I think, again, is a positive. I do. In addition to that as well, for the January transfer window, of course, it wasn't just Weghorst and Sabitzer that we signed. There was an additional deal. Obviously, Jack Butland came in to replace Martin Dubravka. Because I don't even know if Jack Butland's ever going to make an appearance for Manchester United. Honestly. You can let me know what you think, but I'm not sure about that. We've got nearly 1,400 people watching. Come on, guys. Come on. For a solo stream, that's a pretty good going. So appreciate everyone that's tuning in this morning. Lots of excitement about Sabitzer. Lots of excitement about the game this evening. We are going to get onto that shortly. But be sure to smash the like on the like button if you haven't already. As I mentioned, nearly 1,400 people watching. What should we say? This is the thing. I might take a different approach with the likes. I'm thinking about this. Is maybe it's a bit like, when you go at work and you have like your mid-year review or something like that. What's a realistic target? What do you guys think you're capable of? I know what I think you're capable of. What do you think you're capable of? I think 500's very, very, I think that's reasonable. I think 500 is reasonable. But do you think you've got 500 in you? That's the question. Is that something that you think that's feasible? I Speak Wales says, Simon says 2,000. I think Simon's, overdosing on the hopium this morning. I'd love it. It would be surprising considering there's not 2,000 people watching. That would be interesting. But I Speak Wales says we can't. But then Gaza said you can. You can. I know you can. And Blue Dabba Dabba says 800. I feel like one of those auctioneers. 800. Anyone going to raise on 800? 800. Anyone go once, go twice? They talk quicker than me. Christian says, just do a poll where the answer is like. It would get more votes. It would get more votes than like as well. Yes. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. I say, All Elite saying good is not good enough. 1,000 likes, please. I don't know what to do if we get to 1,000 likes. Think of something for me to do. Not silly, obviously. It's early, but there still needs to be the DJ emoji. I promise that hasn't been put in yet. I've got to get on to Josh. It was his birthday yesterday, though. Happy birthday, Josh. But you can think of something. Christian says shirt giveaway. Just did one. I haven't got many signed shirts. I'll sign my shirt and give it away. You wouldn't want that. It's ginormous. So yes, a little bit more rather on the Sabitzer thing before I do move on to the preview for tonight's game, because again there is a match on tonight. There is a little thing called a Carabao Cup semi-final, second leg at Old Trafford, and the winner will face Newcastle United at Wembley. It could possibly be a rematch from the 1999 FA Cup final at Wembley. That was Manchester United versus Newcastle, and United won as part of the treble season. That was the last time that Newcastle reached a final as well. Bit of interesting trivia for you on a Wednesday morning. Now, Bayern sporting director Hasan Salihamidzic, I don't know if that's right, says, quote, Manchester United expressed an interest in Marcel Sabitzer at the beginning of the week. Marcel told us he would like more playing time and he's confident that he will get that at United. After consultation with our coach Julian Nagelsmann, we accepted the request and have loaned Marcel to Manchester United until the 30th of June. We wish him every success for the second half of the season with United. So basically, the Bayern sporting director essentially confirming what Manchester United had said and what we had heard also, that United had made contact or initiated contact within the last 24 hours. So again, beginning of the week sort of time. If you think back to yesterday, so that would have been Monday, they'd initiated that contact, and the deal got done quickly. And after consulting with the coach, Julian Nagelsmann, they said that was okay. They said that they agreed. He feels that he'll get that playing time at United that he's not getting at Bayern Munich. And I think he will. I think he's right. Obviously, I put a poll in the chat yesterday, and I would like to know you guys' thoughts if you didn't vote on it, or you can just let me know your comments. That realistically, I mean, with Eriksen out, maybe this is the best way to phrase it. With Eriksen out, what is the first choice midfield pairing now? Is it Casemiro and Fred because of their Brazilian connection? They have played with each other at international level. They have played with each other in the past. Or is it Casemiro and Marcel Sabitzer now? Is that the midfield pairing? Is that the pairing that Erik ten Hag's going to go to? Not immediately, because Erik ten Hag doesn't really, whenever he brings any player in, he doesn't like to put them in immediately. So maybe not at the weekend. But is that for the remainder of the season? Is that what it's really going to be? Or is it going to be, again, Fred and Casemiro, Sabitzer, nobody gets a free run in here. I don't care that we really heavily recruited you because we needed you and we were desperate. You have to earn your spot and you have to make these substitute appearances. And whenever you do get your chance, you have to take it, because if you don't take it, Fred will come back in. I think it's probably like that scenario, honestly. I don't think Sabitzer comes straight in. I don't, because I've seen no evidence for Ten Hag to really do that, except for players that he knows really well, i.e. Antony and Lisandro Martinez, and to an extent Eriksen, but particularly those two. They came in very quickly, but that's because he knows them really well, he trusts them, and he knew they would work in his system because they were recruited specifically for the roles in which they came in. And United didn't have anything better in that system, or in those roles in particular. Sabitzer, because of him not knowing him totally well, and maybe his lack of game time at Bayern Munich, it might take a few games, or it might take a few training sessions. But then also, I suppose, look, Wout Weghorst came straight in too. So I think as the season goes on, I would think the midfield pairing does become Casemiro and Sabitzer. But it also does depend how well Casemiro and Fred do in these. If I'm Fred, this is what I'm thinking. Because Erik ten Hag's a genuine coach, and all he cares about is winning games, all he cares about is winning trophies. That's what he's been talking about. If Fred comes in and plays alongside Casemiro in the next, let's say, 2 or 3 games, and Manchester United pick up some really, really impressive performances, big wins, then he'll stay on the side longer, because that's just how Ten Hag works. If it's okay performances, but you would go, well, I think Sabitzer could do a better job, or Sabitzer comes on during those performances and really impresses, then most likely it'll be Sabitzer and Casemiro. But again, these are positive options to have. These are positive situations to have, I suppose, as well. DD22 says, of course he comes straight in. Shui says, wait and see, because Fred has been playing well. That's true as well. Although Fred's a strange one, isn't he? Because yes, he's been playing well, but you never know with him. You never know. In the same vein in which he can play, like, and Ten Hag said this in his press conference yesterday, played against Spurs earlier this season at Old Trafford. He was brilliant. All over the pitch, full of running, again, tenacious, putting tackles in. He even got a goal, I think, in that game. was brilliant. Man City started the game, had a job, had to follow De Bruyne around the pitch for 90 minutes, did fantastically, even though De Bruyne still managed to get an assist, but that's what Kevin De Bruyne does. Fred did a fantastic job. At the same time, he can start games and you go, man, Fred is having one today. And it's not like Bruno Fernandes, whereby he's having one, but he'll still get a goal, he'll still get assists. It's like Fred is having one today. So you never know what you're going to get. And in the same vein, he came off the bench against Reading. He got a goal. And I do think, to give Fred credit, I do think his performances are better than when we first signed him. I remember when we first signed him under Jose Mourinho. God, he was awful. For a while, he was poor. And he was putting in some really poor performances for a long time. And obviously, during the Ollie tenure, McFred. The thing is with that duo, it's just kind of like together, no. But alongside a Casemiro, whatever, one of them can work. And as I said, I like this role for Fred. Maybe he would want more at this stage in his career, but I like the option of turning to the bench after 65, 70 minutes going, we need to bring legs onto the pitch, or we need to shore things up. Or, again, he can bring on a goal. We need to have something a bit different. Bring on Fred. I like that role for him. And when you're like a rotation option like that, yeah, occasionally you're going to start games. But as far as the bona fide nailed-down starter alongside Casemiro, I think I'd rather it be Sabitzer at the moment. But you would also, I suppose, say that maybe... I think Fred maybe has probably started more games recently than Sabitzer, right? I mean, a lot of the appearances for Sabitzer this season have been coming off the bench, but then so have Fred as well. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think initially it's going to be Casemiro and Fred tonight. I mean, we'll get into the preview in just a second, but tonight, who's it going to be? This is the challenging thing with Ten Hag. It's tough. It's tough to know if he's going to rotate, because he doesn't. He doesn't really rotate. I Speak Well says, I hope Carroll doesn't tackle him in the airport. Well, he's already in Manchester, and Andy Carroll is a disgrace. He's a cheat. He didn't even get booked for it as well. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. The Reckoning says, Fred has definitely developed under Erik ten Hag, but he's still a squad player. I agree with that. I think what the Fred we're seeing now, I think it's probably the best version of Fred I think we've seen. I mean, look, he steadily improved. Think about it, during his time at United. I mean, under Ollie, or under Jose, he barely played. I really don't think Jose Mourinho wanted him. Under Ollie, was playing more, iffy, to say the least. He was one of the few under Ralph Rangnick that actually did play better. He was going forward a bit more, scored the goal in Rangnick's first game against Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. And then under Ten Hag, I think you're right. I think he has developed more, certainly, since then. But my preference for him would still be to be a bench player or a squad player. You know, the occasional start coming off the bench, but you want more quality ahead of him, I think. Mina's in the chat as well. She sees it. Mystic Mina. That's so Mina. Mina Simone, not Nina Simone. Mina Simone, The Vision, which was about an hour off. Mina said, what did you say last night? It was, like, you can respond. You said 11 o'clock, didn't you? It was 10 past 12. So a little bit off. Not far away, though. Just a smidge. Just a smidge off. But Mina can see it as well, saying the views to likes ratio doesn't add up with the thinking emoji. And she's right. It doesn't. It's very strange. It's very strange what's going on right now with the views to likes ratio. And that's Mina right there. It's not a request. It's just slightly passive aggressive. Doesn't add up. Don't know what's going on there. Well, if it was me, you know, I'd feel bad if I hadn't clicked the like button. But whatever, you know, it's not. Who am I to judge? You know, who am I to tell you what to do this morning at 9:35 GMT? You know, that's so Mina. And with Lil Yo as well. One of the minions. The minions are in full force. Queen Mean has declared, made a royal proclamation. Thou must click the like button on a Wednesday morn. On February's first dawn. Oh, look at me go this morning. Let's get into some preview stuff as well. Watch this. Oh, I've moved studios. Look at that. Yes, it's the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg. It's Manchester United versus Nottingham Forest. Of course, we take a 3-0 victory from the first leg into the game at Old Trafford. And what do you guys... I want you to let me know in the chat, what team would you pick? What team would you select if you were Erik ten Hag today? Because I said this during the weekend against Reading. I think we've just got to get it through our heads. Erik ten Hag doesn't rotate. Erik ten Hag doesn't like to rotate, and if he does, it's how many players? 1 or 2? Something like that? Maybe. And as far as the team selection for this evening, I don't expect a huge amount of rotation. I think there should be, but that Reading team at the weekend kind of threw me through a loop, because I was expecting a huge amount of rotation for Reading, maybe a bit less rotation for this evening, and then we'd play Palace at the weekend with the strongest team that Ten Hag could put out. When I saw that side that he put out against Reading, and he rotated the back four a bit, it wasn't the strongest back four, certainly, but it still had, Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Anthony, Weghorst. So, well, the majority of that team is the sort of strongest team he could possibly put out. So, as far as the game for this evening, I mean, the game's dead and buried, near enough. With 1 foot, people are already booking their tickets to go to Wembley, or booking their hotels to stay there. You've got to be professional. You've got to get the job done. But I think goal, I don't think Tom Heaton will play. I think it will still be David De Gea. Right back, you've kind of got no choice because Diogo Dalot is still injured as far as I'm aware. So it'll be Wan-Bissaka at right back. Centre back, this is the interesting one. Will he go with the centre-back pairing that he did at the weekend, which was Maguire and Lindelof, or will he go with the pairing that he did at Forest, which was Martinez and Lindelof? Now, he could go with Varane, that's possible, but I think he's given Varane a bit of a break. It's not as if Varane's been injured or anything like that, because Varane has been on the bench for both of these games. I think it's just a case of Ten Hag wisely managing Varane, managing the load on him, and making sure that we have him for the more important games, the more the bigger games that are coming up. Of course, we've got huge games coming up in the Premier League, Europa League as well. And also just that Carabao Cup final. You want him to be ready for that final if and when we do get there. So centre-back pairing, I would think might be, I think it'll probably be Maguire and Lindelof again, I think. And then that's Maguire's fill, But this is, at the same time, I don't want Ten Hag to, because he does do this, if we play well, we win like 3-0 tonight, I don't want him to be like, oh, Maguire and Lindelof, eh? Premier League start on the horizon. No. And I don't think he will. I think this is just, I think he'll just, the game's over. The tie's pretty much over. We can get away. And that does a disservice to them too. But I think it'll be Maguire and Lindelof at centre-back this evening. Left-back, I mean, Luke Shaw, I don't know if we got an update on him either. He's missed the last 2 games with illness. I would think once again it'll probably be Malacia. So I would expect the same back four that we had against Reading, which was Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, and Malacia. I would expect them once again. And then once we get to the weekend, I think we'll get to Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez, and maybe Shaw at that point, depending on where he's going. I mean, left back, look, it might be Luke Shaw this evening. With Luke Shaw missing 2 games with illness, it might be a case of Erik ten Hag thinking, well, I want you to play at the weekend against Palace, and I don't want you to be too gassed up, so I want you to play this evening. I want to maybe play 45 minutes, 60 minutes, see how it goes, just to get some match rhythm going back, because Ten Hag's a big believer in match rhythm. And to be fair, he's right to be a big believer in it, because the form we've had post-World Cup has, in my opinion, largely been generated by him playing strong sides in every game, irrespective of the competition, irrespective of the opponent. And let's face it, we've had some very favourable opponents. Burnley, Charlton, Forest at home in the league as well. We've had games that we should be winning. And Ten Hag could have and would have been able to rotate players for those games if he wanted to, and most likely still got a fair result, a decent result. But he said, no, I'm going to play the strongest team in every single possible game. And because of that, we have built this momentum. We have built this winning mentality. Marcus Rashford's on the form of his life because he's been playing in every single game, irrespective of the opponent. So at the same time, going back to this team selection tonight, I could see him not rotating, because him just thinking, look, the match rhythm and the winning mentality and the momentum at this point is really what's going to carry us through. Not necessarily rotation. What's going to carry us through is the mentality. What's going to carry us through is momentum of winning games, that even when we go into a game and we are tired, or we do have to rotate and we're forced to rotate, the majority of the team is just so used to winning and so used to bulldozing teams over that it will get us through the game. Now, how sustainable that is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure really, truly how sustainable that is in terms of, fatigue, fitness, tiredness. I mean, prior to Eriksen's injury, he was looking leggy a lot of the time. And that's not to say that he doesn't have a good engine, because he does. He's played a lot of minutes this season, but even he was looking fatigued. And that's because, again, he's played so many games and Ten Hag hasn't really rotated that much. So, sure, I could see playing a part this evening. Maybe he would start. Midfield, that's an interesting one. A very interesting one, midfield, because realistically, and the Christian Eriksen situation has kind of scared me, because it's a reminder, injuries can and will happen. An injury can be right around the corner, and it's something that's not even in your control. We worry about people, like Varane or others, just running or putting a tackle in and their hamstring goes, or running and they go over on their ankle, or pulling a muscle like Anthony Martial. But sometimes what you can't control is knobheads. That's what you can't control. People like Andy Carroll. You can't control people who are putting in crazy tackles and not even getting punished for it. And it's when I get reminded about that, I go, Casemiro, maybe he shouldn't play this evening. Maybe, because the game's pretty much already done and over, maybe save him for the weekend. Because if something happens to Casemiro, we are screwed. Irrespective of bringing in Sabitzer, irrespective of bringing in anyone. If this had happened during the window and Casemiro had got injured, you could have brought people in, but it's not the same. It's not the same at all. So, no, I don't think Casemiro should play this evening. Yes, he's been fantastic, and to be honest, we needed him to beat Reading at the weekend too, because he was the difference. I mean, first half, for the strong side that we played against Reading, we were sloppy in the final third. I thought we created enough and we were getting in behind enough. I don't think it was as if Reading were defending fantastically, because they weren't. They were not. But we were being sloppy and we weren't being composed, and the final pass was way off. And we needed Casemiro in the second half to get those 2 goals and then kind of open things up for United. So maybe he will play, because maybe Ten Hag will be like, we need him. Even with a 3-goal advantage, we need him. But I'm not necessarily sure we do. I don't know. I mean, you know what? I'll put a poll in the chat. I think it's an interesting one. Will Casemiro start tonight? I don't know why I'm in caps. I'm not shouting at you. Will Casemiro start tonight? ? Ask the community, yes or no. I wouldn't be shocked. Because that's what he does, right? So if it were me, well, actually, who else have we got? Because McTominay's not available, Donny's not available, Eriksen's not available. It's kind of got to be Casemiro and Fred. Who else could play there, actually, thinking about it? You could maybe have Martinez as a midfielder, maybe. Kobbie Mainoo. Maybe start Kobbie Mainoo this evening. But would he, even with a 3-goal advantage in the Carabao Cup semi-final at home, would he start Fred and Kobbie Mainoo? It would be a bold move by a bold man, quite literally. I don't think he'd do that. I don't think he'd want to throw him in the deep end just like that. But he did start against Charlton, didn't he? He started against Charlton, I believe. So that's possible. If it were me, I'd go Fred and Kobbie Mainoo. I'd go, screw it. We've got a 3-goal advantage. Let's take a risk. I feel like we can get through it. And if it's not working, if we do go, because heaven forbid, but I don't think we would go 3-0 down at half-time, and then at half-time we're going, what on earth is going on? I think we'd be like, 1-0 down. Let's bring on Casemiro. Let's shore it up. We haven't really got many options. It would be a big nod. It'd be a big nod and a big, Kobbie Mainoo, I believe in you, to start him alongside Fred. But I don't think maybe he will. I think if he were to start Kobbie Mainoo, I think he would do it with a Casemiro. I think he'd start Casemiro, let's say, for a half alongside a Kobbie Mainoo, and then see what happens. He might do what he did against Reading, which was actually play a really strong side. Hopefully we get like one goal. Because let's face it, if we go 1-0 up, we're through to Wembley. We're basically through to Wembley anyway. But if we go 1-0 up, 4 goals is they're not going to get that, Forest. So he might do what he did against Reading, which is, and I think this is what he had hoped would happen against Reading, was play a strong side, get a goal or a couple of goals in the first half time, take a load of players off. He did that against Reading. It just took a little bit longer. In the end, it was about 55 minutes, 60 minutes, which he took a lot of people off. That's when he did his rotation. So maybe that's what he'll do tonight. Maybe he'll play that strong side and then just, again, hope we blow him away and then game over, tie over, and then focus on the next game. That might be the route that he goes down, I suppose. So that's the midfield one. I mean, just looking at the poll briefly, it's only been in there a couple of minutes. 63% of you saying yes, you think Casemiro will start tonight. And you know what? The more I do think about it, I think you're right. I do think you're right. I think that maybe it wouldn't be a move that I would do, but then I'm not Manchester United manager. I'm not Erik ten Hag. I'm nowhere near. I'm nowhere near that. Diva says, Owen, he will start aggressively to get a goal or two and then do changes to put the youngsters in. I think you're right. I think that's where the direction I think he's going to go in this evening. As Joe says, yep, we're going to try to kill the game first half and then rotate. Nick says, we can't rely on Casemiro all the time. Hope he doesn't start. Tank says, go as strong as possible, secure the win. Hendricks says, 45 minutes for Cass, simple as. Ed says, to play Kobbie Mainoo without Cass would be wild. Sabitzer can't start this evening as well, so that's not going to be a situation. Chris says, you lose a goal early because of some boneheaded selection and the game becomes troublesome. You play your best 11, and if we're up 2-0 by half-time, you make subs. I think, yeah, I mean, that would be true, definitely, if it was the first leg of the tie or anything like that, but at the same time, you've already got a three-goal advantage. 3 goals. 3-goal advantage. And could you imagine if Forest won 3-0 at Old Trafford? My goodness me, that would be wild. But at the same time, you do have to manage that complacency too. I think if Scott McTominay wasn't injured, then I think we would be seeing Fred and McTominay tonight. But I suppose with McTominay's injury, it kind of it forces Ten Hag's hand a little bit. So I think it might be Casemiro and Fred. And to be fair, maybe he'll just want, thinking forward to the games in the Premier League, maybe he'll just want to, not that they have to develop that relationship because they don't, because they have played with each other at international level. Maybe you just think, in that Manchester United midfield with the Manchester United players, maybe it's about getting some match rhythm for them as a pairing as well. I'm just trying to think out loud with that one. So I think Casemiro probably will start this evening. As far as in front of them, right-hand side, question marks, because he did say in his press conference, and given everything that went on yesterday, it kind of went under the radar a little bit, didn't he? Jadon Sancho's back. Now, he was very coy on whether Sancho would play against Reading at the weekend or be involved or be in the squad against Reading. He was not. Now, he said, I don't know if he confirmed he'll be in the squad, but he certainly said he could play a part, I think. I don't want to misquote him there, but he confirmed that Sancho, I think, would be back. So, who starts where on the right-hand side? Is it Anthony? Is it Facundo? Is it Sancho? Now, for me, I mean, that's a poll there. Let me get that one in. The polls are polling this morning as well. Let me get this in. Or is this going to be one of those ones where it's annoying and I can't add... It's one of these things where I can't add like 3 options, which is a disgrace. It's a cheat. But what if I try it this way? It's all about solutions, folks. That's what we do here at United View. We offer solutions. Engage audience. There you go. Who starts on the right? Question mark. Is it Facundo? Is it Anthony? Is it Sancho? Poll is in the chat. Poll has gone in the chat. Now I've got to make some changes here to the setup. Oh, the things I do, hey folks, the things I do to bring the A1 content. Not a lot, just put a poll in the chat. Poll is in the chat, yes, as to who would you start on the right-hand side. For me, it would be Facundo. For me, it would be Facundo. I don't think Jadon Sancho should be starting this game. He has been out of action for a very long time. He needs to be bedded in. He needs to get minutes and get match rhythm. So I think it would be Facundo on the right. I think it should be Facundo on the right. I think his cameo appearances recently have warranted enough for him to start a game with a bit less pressure on. Look, it's still a semi-final, but a bit less pressure on. You've got the 3-0 advantage. And there was a reason, surely, that Facundo did not go out on loan in January. He said it in his press conference, Ten Hag. The reason I put him on against Forest, that's a signal of what we think about him, which is he's got a part to play. And he's been impressive when he's played, when he's come on. And the next step, you would think, in his development, the next step for him at United would be to begin starting games, begin putting pressure on Anthony. And if I am Anthony, and I'm not going to jump on the Anthony hate train because I don't think it's fair. I think he played well against Reading, and I think he did all right against Forest last week too. But I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world for him to have some people nipping at his heels a little bit. You know, on the right-hand side, you go, phew, I've got Facundo Palestri, he's developing. I've got Jadon Sancho coming back. I've got to up my game, otherwise I'm not going to be playing. It's good to have options in those forward positions. When it comes to Facundo, as I mentioned, I think he would deserve a start this evening. I'd like to see him start. Sancho, what are we saying? How many minutes do you think he would get if he came on? Are we saying, 65, 70 minutes comes on, maybe gets 20, 15, something like that? It's important not to give too much too soon. And it's important as well, I think, not to expect too much of him too soon as well. In terms of his performance levels, I think that we shouldn't hope to see, Sancho's been away, he's been on this individual program, he's going to come back, Sancho 2.0. That may and hopefully will come, but it's not going to come against Forest tonight. It's not going to come against Palace at the weekend. That's going to take time. Like, form, it does have to be built up. Marcus Rashford's in fantastic form this season, but I think if you go back to those early games, if you go back to pre-season, Marcus Rashford, the first couple of pre-season games he played, he still looked like the Marcus Rashford of last season. He still looked shaky. It's built up over time. It's built up incrementally by performances of get a goal here, get an assist here, a decent performance here. That's going to be the case with Jadon Sancho. Build him up physically, build him up mentally, build his form up as well. And the best thing we can do as fans is do what we've been doing so far throughout this process, or I would hope a lot of people have been doing, and that's supporting him. But not expect him to come back and be this Sancho 2.0. And most importantly, and I know social media will be like this because social media is a cesspool. That is, one of the pimples on the arse cheeks of life. That's what social media is. But at the same time, if Jadon Sancho comes in and he looks rusty, the reaction shouldn't be, he's finished, he's still terrible, he's still rubbish, all of that time away and look at this. It'll be like one cross he does badly or one misplaced pass, he's awful. What's happened to Jadon Sancho? Get rid of him. Get absolutely rid of him. No, calm down. He's been through a lot. Let him come back. Let him improve. Support him. At the very least, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. So, calm down, support. If Marcus Rashford is an example of anything recently, it's that when the players are struggling, when they're not in good form, you have to get behind them, you have to support them, and you have to try and get them back to where they can be, or even better. But that takes time. It takes time, and it takes support from everyone, from his manager, from his family, from his teammates, from his fans. And again, with Sancho, it's going to take time. So don't think he'll start. I would hope Facundo starts this evening. I think he's deserved that opportunity to start. And who knows what that can mean for him going forward with starts in the Premier League or starts in bigger matches. That would be fantastic. 10 position, it's kind of got to be Bruno. I mean, who else could it be? Who could it be else in that number 10 position? I genuinely, we are light there, actually, thinking about it, aren't we? Very light in that number 10 position. So Bruno will start, but I'm not worried about that. I mean, this is a jinx. I'll touch wood here massively, but it's not as if he gets injured that much. So I would say that I think Bruno starts. Interesting one here, by the way. This caught my attention. Amin says, Owen, would any other non-English player have got the same time and support as Sancho? I would hope so. From the manager, certainly. Maybe not from the fans, and I think that's wrong. But from the manager, I would hope. From the press, I don't know. The thing is with that whole press thing with English players, it goes both ways, doesn't it? Because in the same vein that do certain English players get unfairly, but do they get backed more than others? Absolutely. Some English players get crucified. Have you seen some of the back pages? Do we need to even go into that? Jadon Sancho, do we need to go back to what happened at the European Championships, right? So I don't really subscribe to that, because I don't think it's a UK bias or anything like that, because all of these players get criticised, and I don't think it should be a contest, either. As I said, I think that support the players, back the players, and look, if they want to leave, then absolutely you can say, leave. And that's because I've noticed that people say that about Rashford, right? People say that about Rashford. They go, you all wanted him to leave last season. And that's not necessarily true. Some people might have said that they thought he wasn't good enough and he should go. But the general consensus, certainly the one that I had when it came to Marcus Rashford, was if he wants to leave, if he wants to be out of here, and when those talks with PSG came up, it was, go. Because if at that stage, and it's important to contextualize these things, at that stage, it was, if you don't want to be here, considering the shit show that was last season, then don't be here. But if you do want to be here, then we're going to support you, we're going to back you, the manager's going to back you as well. And that's the case with that, I think. Poll in the chat says 400 votes. Oh, it's actually very interesting. Who starts on the right-hand side? 33% say Facundo, 36% say Anthony, 31% say Sancho. It's very tight, actually. Very, very tight. Interesting. Continue to get your votes in. So I think, Bruno will start in the 10, because I'm not sure who else would start there. Left-hand side, I would like it to be Garnacho. I think that Garnacho's would be the preferred option there, because, and look, anyone that isn't Marcus Rashford, the drop-off is massive recently, because he's just been in such fantastic form. But at the same time, well, in recent seasons, certainly he's played through a lot of injuries. He's getting that look about him again in Rashford at the moment, hasn't he? Where, have you noticed in games, he just always looks like he's limping? Like, at several points, definitely during the City game, because he did go down, but he played through the game. But I noticed it against Palace, and against Arsenal, and against Reading, where he during the game he goes, Rashford okay? Because he's limping around, or he looks a bit uncomfortable, he might be dealing with something, and he's fine. And he scores goals, and you go, oh, Marcus Rashford's fine, I guess. He's not injured. No worries then. But he does need a break. And the home consecutive goal scoring record is no more, because he didn't score against Reading. So, no, I would say not play him this evening. Give him the rest. Start Garnacho. Garnacho's been coming off the bench. And look, still, when Garnacho's been coming off the bench, he's been doing really, really well. And I know we get told off for overhyping players. Oh, you're overhyping this, that, and the other. Garnacho is the real deal. I truly believe that. I think under this manager, in this system, in this squad, I think he can become something really, really special. I think he's a top quality player. Hopefully we get that deal tied down and agreed. Funny that all of those people that were reporting 3 weeks ago, he's signed a new contract. Where? That contract is not signed yet, which is why I said at the time, let's wait for some bigger journalists to come out and say it. So we'll wait for the official confirmation on that. But I think Garnacho should start tonight, and I think he'd do a decent job. And look, and Rashford maybe can come on towards the end of the game, a bit like he did against Charlton. I think he came on towards the end of the game and he scored. Up front, Martial is available. Martial is available, but he shouldn't start. I think Wout Weghorst will start up front. Martial, it might be a 20-minute thing, and build him up. Like I said earlier on in the stream, at least, it's not a constant rush to get Martial back in the side now, to the detriment of his fitness. Because there must have been times this season where he played games, or not necessarily started, he hasn't started many games, but came into games where he wasn't ready to come in just yet. At least we have that little cushion now that we have Weghorst. So I think Weghorst will start up front, and maybe Martial will come on. As far as a prediction, I'm going with a 2-0, 5-0 on aggregate overall, and I think we'll be on our way to Wembley to face Newcastle United. That's my feeling. Let me know your predictions in the live chat, as well as the comment section below if you're watching this after the fact too. I may have missed a super chat. Daniel Luciano says, how about you grow out Sabitzer facial hair? Well, if only. If only the Sabitzer facial hair. This is, as you can tell here, is about 7 months growth. Yep. Yeah. I'm quite a man, Daniel Luciano. As you can tell, that's just, look at that. Oh, KG's going to have to get me some of that beard oil because it's just too much. It's out of control, isn't it? Look at me. Amanor with a super chat says, Owen will Sabitzer play as an 8 and Bruno as a 6. I doubt that. Bruno's the 10. Bruno's the 10 all day. Absolutely all day. But there you go, guys. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Still got over 1,500 people watching. So see if we can get to 750 on the way out. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner as well. Remember, you can join the UV Members Club in the video description below. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. Remember, full day of match day content on the horizon. We've got road trip, a very special road trip. Keep an eye out for that. We've got match view coming this evening with Mina and myself. All the fan views and reaction. We're also going to get Flex's reaction today as well. So don't you worry. We're going to get his reaction after the game too. So plenty of content on the horizon. Have a good Wednesday and we'll see you again later on. Peace.